We've reached our guy, Gait, Syracuse men's lacrosse head coach. Orange out in Utah looking for a big win to get back on track tomorrow. Coach Gait, appreciate you giving us some time today.
Not a problem. Happy to call in.
All right, Coach. So, quite a challenge this week, right? You're coming off back-to-back losses. You got to fly, I was going to say halfway across the country. It's more than halfway across the country to take on Utah. Can you speak, I guess, first and foremost to the challenge of, these cross-country trips and how you have to go about managing that as a head coach?
Well, it's just travel, right? So we flew down to Baltimore, we bussed to Rochester, flew down to Baltimore to Salt Lake. So it wasn't bad. We got in about 2 a.m. East Coast time, and we got some sleep, some rest, and we're about to head off to practice. So, things move quick, but we're getting it done.
All right. Well done. Going back even to your days as the head coach of the SU women, you have a philosophy with scheduling where you will schedule anyone, anywhere, anytime. And you do that, obviously, to get your team ready for the postseason. Can you speak to how that helps you? I mean, so you're coming off 2 losses, but you're coming off 2 losses to really good teams in Maryland, at Maryland, and I think we all saw just how good Harvard is. How will these games, in your mind, help you for the month of May?
Well, I think they've helped us already. We've as a team we met on Monday after the weekend after not getting by Harvard, and it allowed our players to reevaluate where they're at and what they need to do. And I think it was a positive. It's going to turn into a positive for us, much like last year did for us. Very similar kind of setup. We fell short against Army and Maryland, same sort of thing, and then we went on a run after that. We're just focused on one game at a time. I'm trying to take the pressure off. There's a lot of pressure on these guys. Everybody's telling them the number 2 team in the country, Final Four, championship or bust, and I'm like, we schedule a tough schedule, and we just need to take care of the game in front of us. So it gave us a chance to kind of quiet the noise a little bit and say, hey, we're not going to worry about Final Fours and national championships. Let's worry about today's practice and this weekend's game, and that's it.
Coach Gait, moving forward, you had a couple of guys who suffered some injuries in the Harvard game, not having Jackson Birtwistle. That'll be tough, but also Luke Rowe and Billy Dwan have been day-to-day. Do you have updates on either of them? And, if you're missing either of those guys, what does that do to the team in a game that you guys really got to get out in Utah?
Well, they don't want to miss any games, those guys, and I'm hoping they'll play. I think they're going to be good to go. So, but it's kind of that mentality, I've heard it in football a lot, next man up, and we practice, and there's, we got a depth chart, and we know who the next guy up is, and they've already been, practicing in those roles and doing a pretty good job. So, that's part of the game is you're going to have injuries, and you got to be able to have the depth to adapt to that. So I'm hoping we do.
You said that the 2 losses have already helped you, and, that's why you play really tough opponents. It can help bring to light maybe some things that you need to work on or, potential issues that you need to tighten up. Along those lines, what did you learn about your team through those first 2 games? I mean, good and bad, things that you liked and things that maybe you need to work on as a group.
Well, first of all, not many teams go undefeated.
Sure.
Ever. You wouldn't know that judging by the fans and the critics out there. You would think you're supposed to win every single game, and we could try and schedule teams that we would have a much better chance of winning every single game. But like you said, we got to prepare for playoffs and getting into playoffs, and so we make our schedule tough. We definitely go after opponents that we know that's going to help our RPI, and so we do make it tough, and we know it's going to be tough. So we're not I didn't expect to go undefeated. We're going to have some losses, but we've learned that we got to be more diligent in our game plan. We got to execute at a higher level, and we got to learn to adapt when things aren't going our way.
How about on the defensive end of the field? I know that, there are a lot of familiar faces on offense, right? And I think a lot of fans knew what you had on that end of the field. Defense, you've got a new goalie and some new pieces in place. How would you assess and evaluate how the defense as a whole has looked through these first 5 games?
Well, the first 3 games, it was the best start we've had since in a lot of years. Yeah. And then, even the Maryland game, I thought we did pretty well. And I think we just had a tough game against Harvard. I thought they shot particularly well. I reviewed the game film, and they were great shots. They were pinging corners. There weren't many bad shots out there from them, and they had a great game. And I guarantee you, they're not going to go on. They're already not undefeated, but they're a good team. So it just really shows that you have to show up every day, and you got to be ready to make plays. And I think that's our focus. On the offensive end is to be more consistent. We have a 5-0 run to start, and then we cool down a bit, and we start making decisions that aren't the ones we need to make when you're up 5-0. So that's a point of emphasis and a chance to learn from that. The defense, just got to get stops. We got to help our goalie out, get a little bit more pressure on the shots, and limit where the shots are coming from. So those are some of the things that we've definitely learned and been working on.
Next up is this Utah game, as we mentioned. You guys are out there getting ready to take on a Ute squad that is 1-3, but certainly a case where the record is not indicative of how good they are. They've lost 3 games by a combined 4 goals, including had Denver on the ropes, a very close game. And they lost 2 1-goal contests to Delaware and Vermont. So with that being said, and they beat Ohio State to start the year, and Ohio State was ranked. So what can you tell us about this Utah team that you're getting set to face tomorrow?
Well, they're good. They're athletic. They get up and down, and they're excited to play at home. I think they travel a lot. They understand the difficulties of they went to Vermont to play and they ended up playing in New Hampshire. So you got to be adaptive, and they are. So they're ready for anything, and they're going to be a tough opponent. And we, like I said, we just need to stick to our game plan, execute, and make some plays. And that's kind of the game in a nutshell.
Coach, you guys are obviously on the road, but we talk about attendance so much for basketball. I've got to ask you, having 5,000 people at a lacrosse game is no small feat. And just the attendance for Syracuse, the fan engagement, it's on another level from a lot of other programs in the country, from most other programs. Just what does that mean to you to have so much support for your team, for you, and just for lacrosse in Syracuse?
Well, when I took over as coach of the men's team, my goal was to bring back the attendance of old, and we used to average over 10,000 a game, and now I took over, we were just over 4,000, and we want to build that, and we want to continue to build it. And I know, I can tell you, they're telling me we're going to have 8,000 out here in Utah. So, other areas can do it. I champion our fans, and I think they're the best because we certainly average the highest attendance. But I'd love to see our attendance blow up for a couple games like Hopkins. Let's get over 10,000 people. Why not? We used to be able to do it. So I encourage all those, if you haven't seen a game, come out and watch us. It's fun. It's exciting lacrosse.
And that's a great segue, because I was going to ask you about Hopkins. I know that Utah's next, but we might not have you on this show next week, and that's the next big home game is Hopkins, and they're one of the best teams in the country. You guys could very well be one of the best teams in the country this year as well, and it's a rivalry that obviously dates back and was a heated rivalry when you were a player. Can you just speak to, I guess, what that rivalry not only means to Syracuse and Hopkins, but what it's meant to the sport of college lacrosse as you've grown the game now to the point where you're playing games in Utah and there's 8,000 fans at a game in Utah. That certainly wouldn't have been the case 20, 30 years ago.
Absolutely, it's a tremendous rivalry, and I think lacrosse has developed lots of rivalries because of just over 70 programs in Division One, and so the top teams tend to play each other. So for years upon years, so we've created these rivalries, and certainly Johns Hopkins is one of them, and I think the guys get a little fired up and pumped up to play them, just because of the history, and they're the greatest program in championship history before the NCAA, and then we came along and we hold the belt right now for NCAA, but we haven't been there in a while, so we're both fighting to get back on top, and I think that's what makes this game so exciting. Preseason last year, everybody's talking, is Cuse back? Is Hopkins back? These are two storied programs that people would like to see at the top of the game. So we're doing our best, and we're planning on getting there.
Should be fun to watch. It'll be a 2 o'clock start next Sunday, so a week from Sunday. It'll be March 9th, SU Hopkins Inside the Dome. But first up, an afternoon affair tomorrow, 2 o'clock out there in Utah. Coach, we really do appreciate the time. We'll let you get off to practice. Best of luck tomorrow, and best of luck the rest of the way. I'm sure we'll talk soon.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Thank you, and hopefully everybody shows up in the Dome next Sunday.
Looking forward to it. Gary Gait joining us here on the program, and with that,